out for a little Netflix special coming up tomorrow afternoon. Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans, and I think it goes pretty simple in this one. The Steelers are getting the score, grabbing the points, home dogs. I think for Kansas City, Patty Mahomes playing a little banged up. He's always got this ankle injury. But they could be looking towards the postseason. Steelers come in, catch them napping, and the Ravens going against the Texans. Well, Joe, we highlighted some of the wildcard contenders. Baltimore, very, very scary. And you look at Lamar Jackson, what we saw in that presser early there yesterday. My guy's excited. He's excited to be in the building. He's excited to see Beyonce in person for the very first time. And for the Texans, look, they're a little banged up as well. Tank Dell, that's a massive loss for them. So give me the Ravens to cover there, 5.5. Love the look of the Steelers at home and what's going to be a bit of an arm wrestle. We saw plenty. We're projecting a lot of points in the association. Something for me, Joe, leans towards the unders in both spots. I think it's going to be run game heavy where we really don't see that high-octane offense that we're expecting to see from a couple of these gun shooters. So what do you think, Joe? Are we seeing it eye to eye? Are you jumping in on Dubsy's holiday hamper parlay, if you will, for Wednesday?
I agree. I would even go. I like the unders in this spot as well with you here, Dubs. Especially the Steelers at home, 4-2 to the under. And we know Kansas City is not in a rush to run up and down the field on anybody. I think their games are only averaging around 42 points. So I do think the only thing I worry about is the short week. It usually affects the defenses more than the offenses. I do think maybe if you're looking to fade a team, maybe you should be looking to fade the team total of the Houston Texans. Because I do think they're going to be going through it. They're trying to get, and listen, as it is, they haven't been the most prolific offense this year. I think they're going to have problems against this much improved Ravens defense as well. I think 20.5 was the team total, Dubs. I mean, are they getting to 21 points here on this Ravens team? I don't know. J.Stroud has become very predictable, and so has the Houston Texans team. So if they ain't scoring early, they ain't scoring late against Baltimore. So I would look to fade them and go under their team total.
Yeah, I can't see it. So we're in line on that one. And this is going to be the last segment for me, Joe. We've got Tom Vecchio, who's going to join the program to close out the third and final hour here of the early line on the SportsGrid Network. But I need to get your thoughts. MVP market, Josh Allen, we've sung his praises all show, minus 450, very short price. Is there a world, is there a scenario in which Lamar Jackson could catch up in this award? We've just got 2 games to play. He sits at plus 380. What would Lamar have to do to close out the season and maybe overtake Josh Allen? Is it even possible, or is it already done and dusted?
I don't see how. I mean, they've been trying to give this award to Josh Allen for the last couple of years. They're just looking for an excuse to give it to him. And the numbers are certainly there. The team's success is there. The only wild card, and I don't think it's Lamar, I think the wild card here is Joe Burrow. Can Joe Burrow get Cincinnati to the playoffs here? Because his numbers, it's what now, Dub? 6 straight games with 3 touchdown passes or more? I mean, the guy has been absolutely unbelievable here. And he's got a small chance, but nonetheless, they're going to need some help. But if he finishes it out strong with another 3+ touchdown performance in back-to-back games here and finish the year, I think Burrow has got the shot, the outside chance, depending on how things fall. But I do think with the voters, it just feels like they've been trying to give Josh Allen this award, looking to give him this MVP award. And I think he's finally going to get it this year. It's probably already done.
Yeah, I think he's very close to having that thing locked up, and the odds reflective of that minus 450. But if you wanted to make the case for Joey Burrow, and you build a pretty strong argument, still sitting at 150 to 1 to take out the MVP for this season. But I think you'd have to correlate that with that little playoff dance and a playoff run. And Joe, with that, that's going to do it for me here on the Tuesday card. I've asked you what the drink choice is for Christmas Day. I've asked you what's going to be on the dinner table. What about sweets? You know your boy's got a sweet tooth. What are we packing?
Oh, it's all cannolis, man. Cannolis and tiramisu. That's the only way you can go. Just all homemade.
Absolute sicko. You absolute sicko.
Correct.
Harry, I love
Dip it
that.
in the bourbon.
I love that. And
Dip it in the
walking up
bourbon.
here-
Yeah.
Oh, you want the early line. Merry Christmas.
All right, welcome back into the early line. I'm Joe Ranieri. Appreciate you stopping by as we T-minus 24 hours and counting here. Christmas Day will be upon us, and we'll have 5 NBA games, but more importantly, we'll have 2 NFL games, and we're going to do a deep dive into both of those games as we welcome in our good friend Tom Vecchio here on the early line. And Tom, I listened, the scheduling has been interesting by the NFL and deciding to just bury the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs in 3 games in 10 days. My goodness. This is an interesting early game. I think Kansas City's win last week, and Mahomes didn't seem to have any injury, but I think Kansas City's win last week pretty much wraps up the 1 seed in the AFC. I don't think it mattered whether Kansas City had it or not. I don't think they're at that point with this team. But it likely they're going to get it. But this is a big ask for both these teams. Steelers heading one way, feels like the Chiefs heading the other. We're talking about a field goal or less here. Tomlin as a home dog has been profitable over the years. Who wins this game?
I honestly think the Steelers come away with it, but it's going to be super close. Like, I can't fault people for wanting to take the Chiefs at minus 2.5, which is, you know, the argument people have always made, like, oh, they're not covering these numbers that are 6.5 or 7 or 10.5 when they're going up against the Panthers. But, you know, they end up winning by a field goal. Surprise, surprise. And Butker is back, so they're that much better. You know, I don't want to lay the minus 120 at 2.5. So I am on board with taking the Steelers. I also side with the under in this game. This is a super important game for a Steelers team that's kind of reeling at this point, like you said. And I don't know what you feel about the other game, which we can get into, but that's a very straightforward, winnable game for the Ravens. And if they win that and the Steelers lose this, the Steelers had control of the division all season, and now they've seen it slip away over the past few weeks. So I think this has to be a game where the Steelers look to control the ball and control the clock and just keep it out of Mahomes' hands as much as possible and hopefully lean towards the under. Like, that's how they win this game. I don't think putting the ball in Russell Wilson's hands 35 times is a path to them winning. They don't want to turn this into a barn burner back and forth.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to your point on the under here, it's not like this is the high-flying Kansas City Chiefs offense of years past here. I mean, their games are just averaging about 42 points here, and you can see the total at 44.5, 43.5. The only problem I have is, have you seen this Pittsburgh defense over the last couple of weeks? They've been getting gashed, haven't they? And it's not Watt's playing. So, what's the deal with this secondary and Tomlin's defense here?
At a certain point, they were so good that they may be in for a little bit of regression, but at a certain point, we're also just dealing with that. They were so good. You know, attrition is starting to hurt them, where they're just slowly taking steps back. It's not like a massive performance. Like you're saying, like week by week, they're getting just slightly worse. And, you know, this is a point where I think Pacheco and Kareem Hunt could have a big game on the ground. As much as I think the Steelers need to play things into their hands and play like how they need to like force the Chiefs to play their style. Pacheco and Hunt both having big games, I think, is on the table. And we're looking at a Kansas City team total at 23.5. No, we're getting Pacheco at plus 150 for a touchdown. So everyone is plus money in this game. So really expecting a solid amount of scoring. I like Pacheco. I also mind don't taking a shot on Hollywood Brown up at plus 330, like a quarter unit kind of play on that. He's back. He's healthy. Granted, he only played 27% of the snaps last week, but they want to get him back in the mix after, you know, his first game last week. So I think this has to be a very straightforward game from both teams. Like you said, it's not necessarily a must win for the Chiefs, but this is a huge statement game for the Steelers if they're able to come away with the win.
How big does Pickens playing change your change the way you look at this game? If he plays.
If he plays, correct. Their offense has been terrible over the past 2 weeks. Like, it's just completely different when they don't have that downfield threat. If they have that, I actually think it opens up a path for Najee Harris to have a big game because, you know, we're looking at other game or the past few weeks where opponents can stack the box against the Steelers. There's no viable pass catching options. Like Pat Fryermuth, I think, is good, but who can getting the ball to? Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, like Mike Williams, like these aren't consistent pass catching options. So if Pickens is out there and he has that deep ball threat, that moonshot that we know that Russell Wilson likes to give, I actually think it opens up a bit for Najee Harris to have a solid game.
So it's that's the 1:00 game, and again, big game for Pittsburgh at home as a dog. Baltimore handled their business against Pittsburgh last week. They got to take on, I don't know, a Houston Texans team. To me, it's just heading in the wrong direction. You're picking up Deontay Johnson off of waivers in desperation because you don't have anybody else. They can't figure it out in the second half. There's no adjustments. They're the worst second half team in the NFL. I don't see them playing from in front in this game, and that's the problem here. How do you see this?
I'm totally in agreement. From where their season started, the hype coming in off of Stroud's year last year, you bring in Diggs, like you think you have this high-flying offense ready to go. And we saw Joe Mixon start the year super strong. That has all changed. And their defense isn't consistent. Their offense can't move the ball. Their offensive line is terrible. Stroud is constantly under pressure. There's nothing that says to me, like you said, if they do not get out in front, they won't have the lead at any point, and the Ravens will win wire to wire. They will take care of business. Lamar, one passing, one rushing, a rushing touchdown from Derrick Henry. And at no point do I think the Texans will be live to win and probably not even cover. Like, I just don't think there's any path for them outside of a disaster game from Lamar with 2 pick sixes. I don't think there's a shot that the Texans win this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And what people haven't noticed, Tom, is that since week 10, the Ravens haven't given up more than 315 yards in a game to any team. This defense has gotten better as the season has progressed. And I don't see Houston being the one that gets them to revert back to. I don't see a 400-yard performance here from this Houston offense. And if the game is out of hand, are the starters even playing? Are you risking any more injuries in the second half with Houston?
I mean, at that point, no. I mean, Nico Collins is great, but if he's not getting the ball, who do they have on offense besides Joe Mixon? They already won the division. They're making the playoffs. So like you said, you actually may want to reel things back on Joe Mixon as the game comes to a close.
Yeah, there's we'll talk a few more props in that game, maybe a couple of team totals as well. We'll touch base on the NBA as we look to close out the early line next year on the grid. All right, welcome back in here, the early line on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Ranieri alongside Tom Vecchio as we're getting you ready for Christmas Day football, the NFL. We're talking about the second game on the slate tomorrow, which happens to be a rematch, if you may recall, the divisional round game last year where Houston barely got over 200 yards of offense. And we're certainly missing Tank Dell then and scored, I think a whopping 3 offensive points here. Baltimore's defense, we were just talking about this, Tom. They have this, everyone has this impression because of how the season started that they're a terrible defense. But yet since week 10, they haven't given up more than 315 yards in any game. The defense has gotten better. I don't see team total 20.5 for Houston. Are they getting 21 points in this game? Because I don't see it.
The only way I see it happening is if it's like a backdoor garbage time where the Ravens drop 30, 35 points and they pull some defensive starters. They've had their injuries on defense. And then we see a late touchdown that is absolutely meaningless. The Ravens still cover. That's the only spot that I see them getting to. And like you said, this defense has gotten better week in and week out for the Ravens. And outside of Nico Collins and Joe Mixon probably not moving the ball too much on the ground, I don't know where they're going to be getting the yards to put them in a spot. I will say the one prop that I do like from the Houston side of things is Joe Mixon over 19.5 receiving yards. When we're looking back at some of these recent game logs, only 14 last week, but 33, 18, 23, 44, and 44 from Mixon with how bad this Houston offensive line has been. Stroud is not going to have a ton of time. We saw it last week. He has to get out of the pocket quickly. So easy checkdowns to Joe Mixon will get him some yards, but they're not going to be sustaining drives.
I just can't see it. It's tough to do. I do, however, think And listen, Baltimore has averaged 34 points a game over the last couple of weeks. The number one offense. They have been money to the over, 12-3 on the season to the over. No matter what the other team does here, the total at 46.5. I can only look over because I think Baltimore is more than capable of dropping 30 points or more in this game. And I don't think Houston's going to contribute all that much, but they certainly can contribute enough to help this thing get up and over.
Right. What are we, like 31-17, 34-17? I think that's very reasonable. And like you said, we're right at the number. It pushes over maybe late. But again, as we said in the last segment, Ravens, they will be out in front. They should be, again, wire-to-wire victory for them. I think they cover. They, obviously they win. And what's the Ravens team total? What are we looking at? Probably 27.5, 28.5, whatever it is for them.
That's
I think
correct.
they do go
27.5,
27.5 to 4 touchdowns. Tucker, he's had his inconsistencies this year. Take it for what you will. They're going to be inside, no conditions. I think they go over the team total. I think they cover. Like, this is just let's stop talking about the Texans offense for what they were. This is as straightforward a game as you possibly can imagine for the Ravens, and they will know they have a shot at the division if the Steelers lose at 1 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot on the line here, and sometimes we want to overthink it, and let's not do it at this particular point. All right, NBA season starts tomorrow. We all know it. Nobody will admit it, but we all know the NBA season starts on Christmas. But having said that, some interesting matchups here tomorrow. I'm going to start with the late game because I can't trust the Phoenix Suns. I don't know what the hell that was last night. To have rest advantage going there, to have Denver on the second of a back-to-back in a rough game. All signs pointing towards Phoenix, and they look as dysfunctional as they can be. I usually like to go opposite, right? Hey, Denver won the game 24 hours ago. I'm going to look to fade Denver and back Phoenix. But I can't. I just can't at this point, Tom.
And they lost. Phoenix lost, a couple days ago at home to Detroit.
Yes.
Durant's in and out of the lineup. And listen, obviously the talent is immense, and Booker could drop 40 points, but he could do so in a losing effort. So like you said, why would we have – there's nothing that they've done to prove to us that we should have faith in them that they're going to be winning this game. So I'm on board with that. And I understand the concept. You said, Denver, they lost a back-to-back game, et cetera, et cetera. That's a spot that I always love to go to, but it's got to be Denver. And I will say quickly for the early game, quick, I like Jalen Brunson going over his combined points plus assists. It's sitting at 31, going up against the Spurs. Not worried about the Spurs defense at all. Brunson in a bounce-back game.
Love that. Tom Vecchio, always a pleasure, my man. We'll see you again this week. Have a great holiday. And you do as well. Merry Christmas from all of us here on the Early Line. We'll see you again on Thursday on the Grid. Happy holidays.